Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL Don't Panic. Still on the move, recording from my hotel room. I'm in the Caledon Hotel in Kilchima. 68 points, Tagama. But that was then, and this is now 70 points when. I'll tell you how. Yeah, I've actually just had breakfast in the Poets Cafe. I was feeling very James Joyce. Okay, guys and gals. I'm absolutely fucking knackered, to be honest with you. A few pints last night. Say in my hometown of Kilchima, just for a couple of days before heading over to the UK. I say it really is a life on the road at the moment for me. However, hopefully some words of wisdom today, or not, as the case may be. Hopefully the street noise isn't too distracting for you lot. Right, not going to dwell too much on the game week just gone, but just a very quick review. So I did the more detailed one a few days ago, or yesterday as it was. Put myself up in the corner there. Yeah, 68 points. Definitely happy with that, haven't I? Yeah, definitely happy with that. wasn't without its errors. 50-50 calls that didn't quite work out, namely Petrovic on the bench, Dubravka with a 4-pointer. Got my captaincy call right. Yeah, sticking with the going with the always captain Haaland methodology as opposed to the captaining the player with the highest average, which would have been Semenyo. Absolutely delighted with the Semenyo 5-pointer. That was unexpected because I thought I had a bit of a working at cross purposes. Obviously, they're having players playing against each other. It actually worked out really well above the game week average. 1.5 million rank rise. If we just actually look at what that actually does mean, I won't go through the whole team again. We did that yesterday, but let's have a wee look at what it actually means by the numbers, and that's the important thing: how we're actually progressing against targets. And I think this is sort of just useful information for tracking. So I just have to flick between screens here, so just bear with me. Okay, so moving in the right direction. I think that's the important. Most, game week one, hit my 69 points. Always looking for that 70 averages, so not too bad. But then obviously fell off the rails. Game week two, I did have a green arrow in two. No, was it two? Yeah, a little small green arrow in two, but well below the average. It was a bad game week all round. Then absolutely plummeted game week three. Wildcarded four, starting to get a bit more data, steadying the ship, nice steady 79, and then getting myself up to game week points this week, 68. So that's nice. That feels nice and steady to me as I'm getting a bit more data. Starting to get my DEFCON picks right, as well as some of my other picks. So yeah, got to be happy with that. Up to 433,550. Average is starting to climb again after dropping to an average in game week three of just 53. So we've got it to 60, now to 61.4. And that's starting to track well against other averages that I try to monitor. As I say, by about game week 15, that average that the number one's on at the moment, they're on 417 points. Average of 83.4, but we can see that is slowly steadying from that high of 127. That is still actually very low for this stage of the season, just after 5 game weeks. That would normally be in the hundreds, and top 50k ranked, sort of be in that 50k rank, because that's certainly where I want to be by the end of the season. Hopefully, a lot higher than that. But 50k is sort of a minimum target, and they're actually on a very low average of just 66. I do think that's going to change in this next coming game week. I mean, every man and his uncle has now bought Haaland or brought him in on a wild card. Haaland's price is rising, and most people will probably be triple captaining him this week. So I expect that averages across the board. Well, depending on what Haaland does, of course, we can't assume he's going to score 1, 2, or 3. But I would expect that average to rise in the next game week. But at the moment, those averages are falling and my averages are going up. And hopefully by about game week 12, 13, 14, 15, they'll be starting to narrow up. Because as I always say, the winner will probably hit about 70, have an average of 74 by the end of the season, based on seasons gone by. And top 20k, 68-point average will get you there usually, and 50k, 67 points should get you there thereabouts pretty comfortably. Based on the way this season is going, could be a lot higher. I do think these averages do play out. It's been so consistent season after season. It'll be interesting to see where it is as the game weeks roll by and where we are at the end of the season, see how accurate these sort of forecasts are. But that's where I'm at. And honestly, given that in game week 3 I was in 3,175,761, I am happy and a little bit surprised that I've already got to 433,000. But that could change so quickly. One bad game. It is so volatile. Really volatile. One bad game week and it can all come crashing down around your ears. You can have a 2 million rank drop. How do we avoid that? Can't say for sure that I can avoid it, but I'm going to do my best to avoid it. Right, again, just got to do a little flick between screens here. Let's have a look. So, did make 2 transfers. Out of that team that I first had up there with the 68 points. Even though it's going well, there are problems. There were existing problems and problems developing. Hindsight, Captain Hindsight, wonderful thing. Probably to a degree a bit of a mistake hanging on in my wildcard in 4 to Ekitike and Gapco. To be fair, TK's gone well. I feel sorry for the lad now that his minutes are at risk because he's actually been really going well. His averages were absolutely grand. He's ticking along nicely for me. But the minutes risk now with Isaac is just too much. Similarly, Gapco. Is Ekitike going to end up out on the left? Is Gapco going to be out on the left? Who's Isaac going to take minutes off? It's just too much risk involved there. So I have made 2 transfers. And we'll talk them through in a minute, but this is currently how I will be lining up for game week 5. So again, I just have to flick screens here. Two seconds, folks. Sorry, working off one screen just creates little delays. Right, I'll just run through the team quickly. Petrovic in goal, doing great. Average is great. We'll go to him in the spreadsheet in a minute. Virgil, yeah, ticking along. Maybe a future transfer, a little bit of a cash cow there that I think may be useful in a few game weeks' time. Tarkowski, grand, hitting his DEFCONs every week. Sinisi, same. Dewsbury Hall, may have been a mistake. I think I went for the Ndoye. May have been a better Everton pick. But it is what it is. We'll talk about that in a minute. Bruno Fernandes in. We'll talk about that more. I think he's a really solid pick. The averages are not too bad, and there's a few good game weeks there to come. And he's not playing in Europe. And this is can't have all your players not been involved in Europe and midweek games. But where there is a good choice to be made between one player or another, and it's marginal, and I'm going to go with the player that's not playing in Europe. And as I say, with Bruno, what's not to like, really? He's not playing in Europe. He's on penalties. His creative numbers are still very good. And I tell you what, if he hadn't missed that bloody penalty, his numbers would be, be pretty much top of the points charts. If he hadn't missed that penalty, he got the -2 for missing the penalty, lost his bonus, got the points for that, his bonus points being huge. We'll see, but it feels like a good pick at the moment. We'll talk about it more in a minute. Semenyo, ticking along fantastically, and even in the last game week where he didn't actually have an attacking return, came with a bloody DEFCON. Rodri, talk about him in a minute. Starting to see the signs of what I spoke about. As a DEFCON king, and are the fixtures there to start getting that attacking returns 1 in 3 like he had 2 years ago? Fingers crossed. Could be an argument made for Rangers still, but I've made the Rodri punt, so I'm gonna have to stick with it now. Mateta, talk about him in a second, and I have brought in João Pedro. The lad's playing well. His minutes are looking more and more secure now, and there's some good fixtures there. And as I say, it wasn't his fault that he had to play in a team with 10 men against United, which obviously blunted much chance of an attacking return in that game. And of course, Haaland is Haaland. And then on the bench, potential mistake, Elliott, but he's on the bench at the moment. It's fine. Lacroix, fine. Burn fine. Bit of an argument could be made for do I actually play Burn and take out someone with a lower average, such as a Dewsbury Hall or Rodri, and actually go with a 4-3-3 again, which has been serving me very, very well the last few game weeks. Let's look at it by the numbers, but the numbers don't look too bad. This in a little more detail, and we'll talk about it just in terms of what it means now, what it means going forward, and how confident am I in these numbers. And it's football. I'm never confident in these numbers, but it is once I start to get more and more data. As I say, as a few of you know from last year, it was very weird how accurate this started to prove the lot deeper we went into the season. As I say, my prediction for the last game week was 63 points, excluding captaincy, and I ended up on 68 points. Take that every time. Take that every time. If I could keep that 68 going for the whole season, although it doesn't quite hit my 70, I'd end up having a very, very, very good season. Right, what am I doing? Right, just have a look at the spreadsheet. Let me just bring it up on my own screen. All right, let's talk through these one at a time. So, I currently have 2.9 million in the bank for the things that I will want to do in the future. So we'll just talk about who I've got. I think some of the players that you guys might be looking at, and indeed I'm interested in myself, and whether over the coming game weeks, given the Arsenal fixture turn, some good fixtures for Liverpool are those areas that I may look at. Because what I'm going to be very, very wary of, just for trying to bring in players, if this is sort of, particularly if I have a good game week 6, 7, not rocking the boat too much to actually bring in players steadily with the right averages to replace the ones that I've got that are falling out of form or where they have fixture turns. But you can see there, I've got pretty good fixtures going forward, and bringing in the right players at the right time should sort of help to keep a reasonable sort of sea of green and blues there, right out to 10 and indeed beyond. Talk about Petrovic. Yeah, I did bench him for the last one. He's up on an average of 5. So a lot of people are thinking about bringing in Raya, and I've thought about it myself, whether that is something that's worth looking at. As we look to, do we go Arsenal attackers or defenders with the Arsenal fixture turn in game week 7? Got West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Burnley, potentially 4 clean sheets there. Wouldn't even suggest that maybe, if you're wildcarding, totally could see a 0-0 between Newcastle and Arsenal in the next one. Newcastle not scoring too much, but defensively very, very sound. But it's 1 million more for Araya. And at the moment, Petrovic is ticking along on a 5 average. Shown he can get the clean sheets. Shown that it can get a few save points here and there. Even if Raya kept 5 clean sheets in a row, is that worth it? So that's like an average of 6. If Petrovic is ticking along on that 5, so say he does concede 1 or 2 here, but he's picking up a few save points, and in that next run of fixtures is picking up 2 or 3 clean sheets. And the way Bournemouth are playing, I suggest that's highly likely, possible if not likely. I just don't see any reason to spend that extra million, and this is going by if Raya does keep 5 clean sheets in a row. But Raya's not going to get you save points, certainly not against the teams that they've got coming up. So sort of you're pretty much working off a ceiling of 6. So if they keep even 4 clean sheets out of the 5, that's still a high percentage, but that knocks the average pretty much back down to a 5 anyways. For me, no reason to look at that goalkeeping position at the moment and let that just play out. Petrovic is doing very, very well, and even when you are doing your wild cards, your free hits or whatever, I don't know. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure it's worth it at the moment, anyways. Tarkowski comes in with West Ham at home. A lot of money in there with Tarkowski at 5.5, but you just can't argue with it. 5.5 million, a 5.2 average. Got West Ham at home, Crystal Palace at home. Still likely to pick up the old DEFCON, and highly likely. I think certainly would expect 1 or 2 clean sheets there, and nothing to see there. No changes there. Van Dijk is the one that could potentially be a little cash cow that might come in handy, because there are a lot of 4.5 and 5 million defenders that are doing as good and much better numbers with the odd clean sheet and that bit of DEFCON. So happy to keep them there at the moment. No need to change going forward. The fixtures are pretty decent. Palace away. Yeah, tricky. Palace tricky. But it is what it is. It's under monitoring, I think, is the best way to put the Van Dijk situation, because there is a little cash cow that may prove useful in 2 or 3 game weeks time. So we'll see. Senesi, just everyone's got Senesi now, and if you haven't got him, you should have him. Seriously, 7.4 average, a defence that's playing well. Leeds and Fulham next. Palace tricky, Forest good, City away, loads of time. We'll have some decent rotations off the bench. Grand. So other defenders, I guess, that you'd probably think about. I guess we'd think about Gabriel, wouldn't we? But 6 million, averaging 5 at the moment, and it's a similar argument to the Raya argument. Gabriel's simply not going to get you DEFCON. I know he got DEFCON this week. That really was an anomaly, I think. But it was a red fixture, so there's a chance there that obviously they'd be a bit more defensively accurate. But as you look at most of those Arsenal fixtures going out, how many do you seriously see Gabriel picking up DEFCON? So I'm not going to say a ceiling of 6, because we do know that he could get on the end of a Saka or a Rice corner. But in general terms, so could Tarkowski. This is the one thing with my defenders at the moment and what they've actually been producing for me. With well above the 6 average for me as the actual ones I've played on a game week by game week basis. I would find it. I am so tempted. Obviously, you've got that best defence in the league. Absolutely, don't question that at all. Bit of goal threat from Gabriel. But unless he suddenly starts smashing it with goals, I'm not going to use a transfer to panic buy him in when there are 4.5 and 5 million options doing just as well. And to be honest with you, I've kind of got them. I've got, Tarkowski, Van Dijk, fine. And that could be the sideways move, I guess, to a Gabriel, should I decide to go there. But I'm more inclined to actually downgrade Van Dijk and free up some money. And obviously, Senesi smashing it. And who have I got on the bench there? Burn. It's the big question. Do I actually bench Burn this week? He's got a really good average going there. He's got 4 returns in 5. Newcastle are defending really, really well. I don't know, questioning. Even if it's as high as could very, very likely concede playing Arsenal this week, but he's probably got a floor of 3 points, probably 4 points. So do I back him over Mateta against Liverpool? That's probably where I probably have my benching dilemma this week. Mateta or Burn. Let's say that's my benching dilemma. Because Burn has been really, really consistent. Really consistent. And I can sort of easily see a 3 or 4 point there. But I really could see Newcastle keeping a clean sheet. It's a long way up there to Tyneside. I know they go on the train, they don't go on the bus these days, but it's still a long old bit of travel. Do Arsenal have a midweek game? No, I don't think they do. No, I think they've got I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest with you, but you know what I mean. It's a long way to go up to Tyneside, even if you are on a plane, overnight in a hotel or whatever. I could really see Newcastle keeping a clean sheet, but even if they don't, say they keep down to 1 or 2 goals, I've got 3 points there from Burn, but maybe more. Thinking about that is my benching dilemma. But we'll go with what I've got out there for the moment. So Dewsbury Hall, what I am kind of hoping is that the easy fixture at West Ham. I think I've made a mistake here. Let's call it on my wild card, but I did it for budgetary reasons, and there were good fixtures there. He shows he's capable of Hall. He does like a soft defence, does Dewsbury Hall. So his averages are pretty poor at 3.8. He's got that one Hall in game week 3 of 12 points. I have hope. I have hope that given the fixture, it feels like a mistake at the moment, and one with the 3 million in the bank, it could be a Dewsbury Hall, or my other potential mistake, Elliot, I'll talk about in a minute, could get a significant upgrade with 3 million in the bank in a game week or two. And that could be, so I'm jumping around a little bit here, that could be to an Eze, who's just looking really good, but obviously you've got that little minutes risk that we worry about with Arsenal. You know, Saka's another one that interests me. Saka's minutes, I think, are a little bit more secure now, but obviously a bit worried. I wouldn't bring him in too quickly, given his recent injury record. But we have the Madueke injury as well to think about. So if all is well with Saka, again, that could be an option I look at, but it does eat up quite a bit more cash. But I can get there reasonably easily. Anyway, back to the team in hand. Semenyo, Leeds United, lovely. But I do like Leeds. They won't be easy to break down at Elland Road, but good fixture. Fantastic averages, 8.2. Lovely. And, you know, nice, steady returns. Returns of 4 and 5, albeit one of those with the DEFCON and the clean sheet. But that is a return in my book. And he's playing well, still shooting wildly from all over the place. He is a greedy fecker, let's be honest. But we like that in FPL, don't we? We want our players taking shots. I don't care where they're from, having crack a goal. And he's clearly, a brilliant FPL option at the moment. Again, one, if you haven't got him, I'm pretty sure most of you must have at this point. You know, get him. Leeds, Fulham, Palace, Forest, lovely. 3 or 4 great fixtures going out, so I would expect those numbers to continue fairly steadily. Rodri, he's my pet Rodri, but starting to get back to full fitness, hit his DEFCON comfortably in the last game week. The 3-3-3 that I have there in game week 1, 2, or 3, they're just a baseline I put in there to make these averages a bit fairer. As I said, well, I can't be sure if this is a mistake yet. I based my projections around his numbers from 2 years ago. He's starting to look fitter, starting to look stronger. He'll hit DEFCON most weeks, and if he starts to get that attacking return, 1 in 3, he is my Casado, but better. Talking to Casado definitely interests me. But at the moment, I'm going to just stick on this little Rodri train and see how this plays out, particularly as we come into Burnley, Brentford and Everton. Good fixtures. He'll still, because of the way he plays, should still pick up a decent percentage of DEFCON. And if he starts getting that attacking return, which we know he is capable of, certainly from 2 years ago, about 1 in 3, 1 in 4, those averages will be beautiful. Let's see how that one plays out. Mateta. I like Mateta a lot. I like him as a player. He's a nice bully boy. His averages are not there at the moment, but for me, you know, he has returned in 2 of his last 3 games. His averages are low at the moment based on the first couple of games of the season. Horton's back. Sarr could be back as well. I think that will have affected his output, those injuries. So I'm happy to have a little patience there because I've only had him a couple of game weeks. There is an argument to be made, and it's one I might succumb to. Do I want to turn Mateta into Gyökeres? Maybe. You know, if I want to go the double Arsenal attack, which I'd be more in favour of, despite the minutes risks than going the double Arsenal defence. You know, I could reasonably easily over the next 2-3 game weeks, using my transfers wisely and at the right time, Mateta could become Gyökeres. Gyökeres' averages aren't that great, but we do know that Arsenal are flat track bullies. And once they get past that Newcastle fixture, you know, say West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Burnley, going to have a little bit of that Arsenal attack. I think the question for me is whether it's Gyökeres, Saka, or Eze, or I can get to two over a couple of game weeks. Really undecided on that at the moment. And I think I just need to see how this next game week plays out. Look at how Saka's performing. Look at how Gyökeres is performing. See what Eze's minutes are like. Because that is the big worry. The minutes risk of the Arsenal attack. But you do know you've got to have a piece of it because we know what they're like. They will bang 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5 or 6 goals in some of these games. It's where do we go? Where's the least risk? I'm not sure we've got the answer to those questions at the moment, but the Madueke injury will influence things for more positive minutes for someone. And I think that someone probably is Saka. I think Gyökeres' minutes are reasonably assured, certainly for 60 plus. But I really like Eze. He is looking really, really good. I think he's enjoying the Emirates. I don't have an answer there yet, but I just feel picking the right Arsenal attackers and taking your time in doing so over the next couple of weeks is probably, certainly for me, the way to go rather than putting money into the Arsenal defence. That will keep clean sheets, but so will a lot of other players as well that are a lot cheaper. So that's Mateta. João Pedro, yeah, grand. Decent enough fixtures. Liverpool at home there. By that time, I probably will have that red fixture in 7 for Liverpool. You know, there'll be be a change there, anyways. I think in terms of someone may well have come in. Mateta may have gone out for someone, or I can equally just play, Burn or Elliott at home to Burnley if he's finally getting minutes or getting a full game. So that's another one that could easily be upgraded for me to an Eze. I could easily go from Elliott to Eze. There's a whole bunch of things to play out over the coming game weeks. And as I say, I've spoken about the bench. I could bring Burn in. Elliott will stay on the bench at the moment until I can actually see that his minutes are assured. Because that was the mistake I did make in the last game week. So what does that all mean? It means I've got pretty solid team going out there. Is it optimal? No. Well, if I was wildcarding today, it would look a wee bit different, that's for sure. But there's a good steady spread of points there. There's not too many anomalies in there, and you're always hoping, as I say, an anomaly, I mean like a defensive attacking return like Senesi in game week 3, but there's not too many anomalies in there. It's just a good steady spread of points across the team with not too many eggs in one basket. And so I'm quite liking the look of it at the moment. So the floor for this team as it stands, and obviously I didn't play this team in every game week between transfers and all sorts of things, and obviously a wild card, etc., etc. But if this team as it stands, ignore the bench, had gone out as it stands, it would have had a floor of 45 points and a ceiling of 78 points. And that's obviously without captaincy. That would have done very nicely, particularly with a perma captain on Haaland. So at the moment it's showing 62 is the average, and the median between 45 and 78 is 62.5. So let's call the prediction 62, excluding captaincy. But here's hoping for a really, really nice clean game week. No bookings, no sendings off. Triple captain on Haaland. Monitoring that carefully. We've got that little worry about him coming off in the 75th minute in the last one against Arsenal, and that he had a little bit of back pain, but it's not too serious, that he needs to be a rest. So he's going to get a rest, obviously, I would imagine, during the week with the Carabao, blah, 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 whatever cup. So we need to monitor that, because it would be an absolute bloody disaster, obviously, to put the triple captaincy on him and he doesn't play at all. Yeah, it's a worry, isn't it? That is a worry. And we can't trust Pep, really, can we? What do we think about that one, by the way? Let me know. I'm sure, as I say, it would leave. Well, that could be a win or a lose situation if you, because as I say, I think there's about 600,000-700,000 transfers in of Haaland already. That's not even including the ones that will have brought him in on wildcard or the people that had him already. That'll be an awful big percentage to that point with triple captaincy on him. God, imagine if you didn't play and you were the one that you didn't play your triple captain. We just make sure you got a really, really decent vice captain, which I guess probably would be Semenyo with his 8.2 average. Or do you put something wild? Have your vice captaincy on someone like a Tarkowski, West Ham United home. You'd expect the clean sheet. You still expect the DEFCON given the consistency. You know, there might be an 8 or a 9 pointer there. Never know an attacking return. Put a vice captaincy on him. Still wouldn't be too bad, would it? I don't have the answer on that one. Monitor the situation, listen to the pressers, and make decisions later on in the week. I think that's it. What else? I did have a. That's where the last one was. There's a few. If you are doing your wild card and you're trying to get to a Salah Halland. That's it. The Salah draft. Couple of guys that are just coming up on my radar at the moment. I think they probably will be on most people's, just to see whether their numbers are anomalies. They look pretty steady though. But if you're looking for some low budget picks, whether there is benchers that you can bring in reasonably reliably in the right fixtures going forward, Isidore, Anthony, and McKelly. Very much on my watch list. If I do decide I want to sort of release some money in some areas over the coming game weeks. You know, if I indeed myself want to get to Salah, which would potentially be, is it game week 8 or 9? Yeah, game week 8. Game week 8, Liverpool, Man United home. You know, not too sure. I'm happy with where I am at the moment, and what I'm not going to do is break things to try and bring in certain players as long as this team is ticking along. I'm not really honestly too worried about what other people are doing if this is ticking along and showing me a nice steady sort of 70 points average, which we are starting to get to now in the last couple of game weeks, as you saw earlier, seeing my that upward curve happening. Yeah, definitely getting the old upward curve happening, as you can see there in the bottom corner. A few green arrows in a row, and it's just ticking along, starting to tick along steadily. And the more data I get, and I'm absolutely not going to do what I did last year, where I broke my spreadsheet and unbalanced the whole thing by forcing Salah in, and the averages looked great initially, and then fell off the bloody cliff. And Salah is on my watch list, but it's only averaging about 5 or 6 points. There's plenty of others doing that at the moment. If that suddenly starts to change, then we'll address the situation. But there are decent budget options around at the moment that do make it easier to get to that Haaland Salah draft. So I'm not as averse to it as I was, but I don't think I'll be going there myself personally, unless I just built up a few transfers to do it as a 1 week game hit, just to have, maybe in for that Man United fixture where it just fills me with fear what Liverpool could do to United in that one. Same way as City there a couple of weeks ago. I think that's it, guys. What do you think? That's my up-to-date. Time for me to go and have a little pint downstairs, I think. Oh, and for anyone that, the non-Irish amongst you, Tagama means thank you. And thank you all for supporting me. I will talk to you next day. So I still haven't done the Bishop Brendan's Cup. Do I need to? So I just do we'll just do a little quick Bishop's Brendan's Cup. We'll make it a quick one this week. Yay! I won. It's the first time I've won the Bishop Brendan Cup. First time, 68 points. There were some good scores. We've got about 20 players now in the top 1 million. Hopefully, we can get a few more in there over the coming weeks, and keep getting that league's average up, and with as many as we can, as high up that table as possible. But for now, I'm the winner. Me. Hurrah! Time for a pint. Take care. Have fun. Play your own game. Don't panic. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.